Now remember, Matthew 24 is Jesus showing what the world looks like as he is coming in the clouds with all of his angels with him, which he does in chapter 25 and verse 31, and all the holy angels with him, and he's descending down. And Matthew 24 is the most complete prophetic overview that Jesus gave. And so basically, when Jesus came, what we see by looking at the drone view are a lot of things that are going on the earth that were not going on in the first century, or the second century, or the third century, or the fourth century. And though all times the church is supposed to be ready at any moment for his coming, these trends, we can call them, weren't evident. Now, what we see in Matthew 24 is, in fact, there's two verses I want you to see. Look at verse 8 of chapter 24. It says, all these, and it's a listing of the six events, the wars and the famines and the persecution and all of those things, those six things. All of these are the beginning of sorrows in verse 8. Sorrows, literally birth pangs. If you know anything about birth pangs, the one thing about birth pangs are normally they start far apart and lighter and get heavier and closer until it's paroxysmic. It's birth pangs. And that's what the Lord says. He says, you're always going to have all these things. Verse 6, wars and rumors of wars and national conflicts. Actually, verse 7 says, ethne against ethne. Ethnic group fighting ethnic group. And it's interesting, the unraveling of so many nations are kind of patchwork quilts of all these different ethnic groups. And the closer we get to the end, the more the quilt unravels. And kingdom against kingdom, it's almost like there's this, balance in the world, but the kingdoms all come loose. And then the famines, we always have had famines, but they get just stronger and stronger and stronger and more deadly, and pestilences we'll talk about, and on and on. So that's what it says. But keep going down to verse 33. So this is what Jesus says. So you also, when you see all these things, now he says they're trends. He says, look for these things. And when you see them, look what it says. You know that it is near, at the door. That's very interesting. Verse 34, assuredly, I say to you, this generation, what generation? The generation that sees all these things. Interesting. Will not or will by no means pass away till all these things take place. So basically what Jesus gives us is specific details. Now, what is the sign, the ultimate sign? Well, it tells, if you've ever wanted to know the sign, Jesus is the sign. Look at, it says in verse 30, then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. The only sign everyone sees is the sign of the Son of Man. He is the sign. But the trends, you're going to see them, Jesus said, lining up. And when you see them lining up, when what I'm describing is finally possible, the generation that sees that will by no means miss it. It's near, it's at the door. And that generation, verse 34, will by no means pass away till all these things take place. So the list of the biblical trends of Christ's return are not actually full-blown till the tribulation time. But you'll see them. You'll see them coalescing. And each of these signs are trends. And the trends are speeding up at the last seconds of the countdown clock of Christ's return. Each day, the prophetic picture that Jesus painted gets clearer. Each of these signs were captured by the apostles and prophets between 2,000 and 3,500 years ago, and now they're happening in our lifetime. In fact, you can say that every single one of these is in some form on the horizon. Well, I want to just give you a handful of the precise, clear, specific trends that Christ gave. and just remind you of what they are. And the first one is, Jesus said in Matthew 24, that when you see these things, when you start seeing them, then you'll know it's near, and that generation will see it. So what signs do we see? Number one, Daniel tells us that the end is marked. And go to Daniel chapter 12. Daniel says some very sobering words. Jesus cites him in Matthew 24. That's why we're using him. He says, as Daniel the prophet said, and so what did Daniel the prophet say? Verse 1, at that time Michael, this is the last chapter of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 1. At that time, and what time is it? It's when the Antichrist is coming into the glorious land. That's chapter 11, verse 41 of Daniel. The glorious land is God's way of talking about the Holy Land, about Israel, the land, the apple of his eye, he calls the people of that land. But at that time, when, Israel is in the crosshairs of the Antichrist, Michael shall stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people. Daniel was a Jew. Michael stands watch over the people. And Michael is still standing watch over him at the end. See, look what it says here. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time your people will be delivered, everyone who's found written in the book. This is an end times event. And there's still a nation of Israel. And there's still a Michael standing guard over them at the direct command of God. And so for those that think Israel is finished, God isn't aware of it, nor is his word. Only their traditions are, because they can't figure it out, because many people are still marked by the anti-Semitism of the reformers, and they were. Martin Luther was terribly anti-Semitic. Second coming, be patient. Christ is going to right all wrongs, even every ethnic wrong, every environmental wrong, every wrong in this world, all the secret sins and all the wicked things that have gone on. He said, I'm going to write them all. Don't worry. Be patient. Be focused. Christ is going to perfect the earth. Yeah, I've seen so many Christians who are trying to save the earth. Don't worry. Jesus is going to. Okay? He's going to fix it all back. And nothing's going to be polluted. Nothing's going to be poisonous. And nothing's going to be bad. And the rivers are going to be life-giving. And the death and destruction is going to roll back, as well as warfare and everything else. Be patient. Don't focus your life on something Christ says, I'm in charge of that.